care of the siblings. So somebody acknowledges you for taking care of people, and you go, and then you feel good enough and you say, oh, what makes me good enough is taking care of people. The most common thing that you get acknowledged for is achievements,
Right.
getting A's, scoring goals, right? So you conclude, what makes me good enough is achieving things. Now I have a survival strategy that is on top of I'm not good enough and I'm not important. So it's like holding a beach ball underwater. Workaholism. What makes me good enough is achieving things or working hard, right? So as long as I'm achieving things, that beach ball called I'm not good enough stays underwater. But guess what? It's a heroin addiction. You got to keep doing it and doing it and doing it because it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't get rid of the beliefs I'm not good enough and I'm not important. So they're driven. And if you're listening, whether it's procrastination or fear of public speaking or workaholism, underlying all of those patterns are these beliefs. And so the trick is to know what beliefs cause what behaviors, eliminate them, not bust them or bang them or hit them, but get rid of them. And the freedom, I'll tell you this last thing, I'll be quiet. When I got rid of the belief, what makes me good enough is having other people think well of me. It was like my Martin Luther King Jr. moment because I was free at last. I was able to speak like I spoke in Croatia in front of 600 people. And I was just me, and I get feedback and, oh my God, I love her. She's amazing. She's wonderful. Bring her back. Boring. Oh, great material. I knew all that. It's like you're going to always get feedback that's not positive. But instead of defining myself by it now, I just look at it and go, oh, did anybody else say I was boring? No. Okay. Oh, but do I need to spice it up? I just look at, can I make it better or not better?
Yeah.
I'm not everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Man, Shelly, I've been captivated by your discussion because it's just so relevant where people are at. And I think we see it in our own lives, if not personally. Maybe it's our spouse or our kids, our parents, extended family members. I can't help but think about my wife. Just after we got married, she was not athletic. She never thought she was athletic, didn't play any sports. And I am the exact opposite of that. And we started training together, and we got serious and more serious and more serious. And so her limiting beliefs of her athleticism started to deteriorate. And what is crazy to look back on is this non-athlete. It's really fun with her high school friends because we've moved away. And when she runs into them, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're an athlete now. She was third in the nation for women between 30 and 35, Spartan racing around the country from zero to hero. And the reality is, and I said this to her trainer, I said, she has always been an athlete. She just didn't know it. She didn't believe it, right? And now she's so empowered with her physical fitness and strength. And I'm so thrilled that she gets to live her adult life with this new mentality and belief in herself, something that was, like you said, that rock holding her back. And it's such a powerful tool that you're talking about.
I just wanted to say something about what you just said. It's awesome that she had somebody who believed in her and took her and, made that happen. My daughter was a water polo player, and she was a competitive swimmer. And we moved from Connecticut to California when she was becoming a freshman in high school. And all the kids in water polo started when they were little. Mm-hmm. And she was a swimmer. We didn't even know what water polo was back east. And so she was good, but she worked her ass off and she wasn't great. And one day she said to my husband, I can never be as good as those kids because I didn't start when I was younger. He did the process with her, got rid of that belief. The championship game, she scored 2 goals and an assist, was in the newspaper, and then went to college and was captain of the water polo team. I mean, it was a Division III school. It wasn't like
Yeah, still.
right. No, it was, but she was still completely different in how she saw herself in her ability to play.
Well, I think that both
Great
of us,
metaphor.
both
Yeah.
of us have brought up an important point to consider as a listener of the show. There's tools out there to get you beyond your limiting beliefs, and you have those tools in what you do, and this show's another one of those tools. And I just want to encourage people, and maybe you can touch on this a little bit, is these tools are available. Use them. Understand that we're talking about these things for a reason, because I don't want to say we've unlocked the secret, but we were willing to pursue what it means to believe in yourself. I love David Meltzer as it relates to business, because we're both business consultants. We've paid the dummy tax, so you don't have to, right? So use our lessons and apply them, and get out of your own way on some of these things. But maybe you can talk about that a little bit, because I think people are so hesitant to grab those tools that are available.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have a couple of business consultants who actually send me their people who are stuck, because you could give great information and be the best business coach in the world. And if your people have beliefs and they're stuck, they can't utilize your information. And if all of you listening can think about this, how many times have you taken a workshop and you walk out and you're all, jazzed up, glazed over, and oh my God, that was amazing. And I took 10 pages of notes and that was so great. And you're all motivated. And a week later, the notes are in the drawer because you have beliefs that are in the way. And I just want to clarify something. When you say limiting beliefs, everybody says limiting beliefs. Belief is limiting by its very nature.
Mm-hmm.
Because if this is true, this is not. So a belief is a box and it limits you. Now, sometimes it limits you in a good way. People have good beliefs, right, that serve them. So I'm going to give a gift to your listeners. If you go to recreateyourlife.com,
Mm-hmm.
You can eliminate one of three of the most common beliefs that people have. And you can actually go through the process and experience a belief going away. But I implore you, and I know that I'm preaching to the choir because you listen to Jim's podcast. And if you weren't into personal development, you'd find a different podcast. So I don't think I'm talking to people who don't use the tools. But, it's like parenting. I always say, somebody said to you, Jim, I have a job for you. You're going to be responsible for the emotional, physical, spiritual, intellectual development of a human being. That's your job.
Yeah.
Would you say, oh, I'm trained for that?
Yeah. It's beyond.
And yet parents think they should do that by the seat of their pants.
Yeah.
They don't need training. It's absurd. It's the same thing with business people. You believe that somehow you've been trained to be an entrepreneur or a CEO or, and maybe you have an MBA, but you have beliefs that determine what you will and will not do. I just hung up right before this call with somebody who had the belief you have to work hard and give up things in order to be successful. And I said, it's so interesting to me that Richard Branson says, he says two things I love. One is, if you're not failing a lot, you're going to be mediocre. Because if you're not failing, you're doing what you did yesterday, and you're never going to be successful doing what you did yesterday. And the second thing he says that I love is, I love creating businesses.
Yeah.
I don't love running them. So he creates a business. He has other people running them. And then he's on Necker Island charging $10,000 to hang with him for a weekend, which all goes to charity. And he's having a blast.
Yeah.
So clearly, he's figured it out that he's not working that hard. I mean, I don't know how hard Richard works, but I know that he has a great life, a lot of interests, a lot of fun. And it's not true that you have to work hard. It's not true. So if you, and the other thing is, when you look at your life, you may be a successful business person, but is you a successful partner in relationships? Are you a successful parent? Are you successful in, like, you have a sport and a passion and a hobby that you love? I am 72 years old and I play pickleball, and I would play every day. Now it's getting dark out, so it's harder to play after work. But I used to go to the gym 6 days a week before COVID. And then I found pickleball, and it was like, oh my God, we're outside having fun, moving our bodies. And I'm obsessed. I love it. So I make time to put that in my life.
Yeah.
And have balance. People say, well, if you're going to be successful, you can't have balance. I think that's BS. I do.
Absolutely. You're preaching to the choir, and I hope my listeners have listened to enough of my shows where we've said that, because it's so important to have that. You brought up an interesting topic about raising kids, being the teacher of these kids, and how am I qualified to do that? My wife and I have that discussion a lot. Our girls are 6 and 8, and they're just such amazing creatures. And you don't want to take for granted your knowledge and what you're instilling in them for even a moment. And oftentimes you got to step back and say, are we doing the right things for these kids? And if not, where do we get the tools to do the right things and to help make a difference, right? You're showing me a book, Parenting the Lefkoe Way. I love it.
It's eight. What you're looking at is 8 CDs.
Oh,
it's an 8-module stream course, and the lot of wonderful tools, but they're all designed for one purpose. When your child walks away from you, stop and ask yourself, what did they just conclude in that interaction? And is that a belief I want them to have for the rest of their lives?
Wow.
And I have been listening. I'll repeat that. What I've been listening to for 30 years is people tell me I was ignored, so I concluded I'm not important. I was criticized, so I believed I'm not good enough. I wasn't hugged, so I believe I'm not lovable. I was told that I'm the quiet one and my brother's the this one, so if I'm not, as good as others. And I said to myself, after a year of listening to that, I said, we have to change parenting.
Yeah.
Because if you change parenting, you'll change the world, right?
Yeah.
Tell your kids, no matter what you do, somebody's not going to like it. So you may as well do what you want. However, before you do anything, stop and ask yourself, what might the consequences of my actions be? And do I want to live with those consequences? So you can help your children form the beliefs that will enable them to have balance in their lives.
Mm-hmm. Such an important topic. We could talk about this for probably hours. We wouldn't have enough airtime to do that.
Hours.
Look, you've got some great materials out there. By the way, just real quick, I did an episode not too long ago. I'm going to make a left turn here real quick. Episode number 137 with Sherry, and it's about making a difference. There is a teen suicide problem in this country. A lot of that goes back to what's being taught in the home and the parenting, and a lot of fatherless homes. So, if you've got concerns in that arena, please go back to that show. And listen to what Sherry has to say and what she does for a living to help make a difference there. Sorry to divert on you there for a second, Shelly, but
that's okay.
I'm just so passionate about how we parent our kids, doing the right thing. My daughters, they're going to be disappointed that we live in the United States because you can't be a princess here, because I tell them that they're a princess every single day. Anyways, you have some wonderful tools as we wrap this up. Can you just talk about what you've got out there? Obviously, you just showed me a new series on parenting, as well as your book.
Yeah. So my book this is really interesting. So when I spoke in a few years ago at Mind Valley A-Fest, I don't know if your listeners know Mind Valley, but somebody heard me speak and he said, this is the missing piece for entrepreneurs. He's a lawyer and he coaches entrepreneurs. And he himself is a serial